Yesterday was one of the saddest days in the history of Russia. On the 17th of July, over 105 years ago, the last Russian Tsar was shot, murdered, executed with his whole entire family. And this was the time when Russia was the richest country in the world, with the best conditions to live in the world, and the most advanced in so many aspects. Before this unrest was organized with the help of betrayal of his Russian relatives and the Russian aristocracy, but mainly the plot against the last Russian Tsar was by orchestrated, and everybody who plotted also gathered at one place to discuss the plot to destroy the last Russian Tsar, to condemn him and to slander him and to make his wife's name dirty and make up all kinds of stuff about her, that she was a lover of Rasputin or some other stuff. But anyways, this whole was happening in the British embassy. So first they tried to poison him. So after they failed to poison him, they decided to organize a civil unrest and plot where he was executed. And this was happening since 1550s, where they killed, poisoned Russian Tsar Ivan, whom they called Grozny, but then British changed the history books and called him the Terrible. They poisoned him with mercury, and also his heirs, they also poisoned him. So this is what British do, and that's what they have done to Russians again since 1550s. So this one was murdered, I think it was 1917s. And of course, this whole stuff is like holiday to them, and it's all orchestrated with some celestial events. So in any case, this Tsar was the kindest and the most holy and saint person that probably ever lived to be the king, the ruler of Russia. His son was also killed, although he was sick, and his wife and his daughters with him. Then British decided to change the history books, and they always do this black PR on him, telling that he was weak and so on and so forth. It is necessary to note that Nicholas II, he knew that he would be murdered with his entire family. First, when he was young and he wasn't a Tsar yet, he went to travel, and he traveled to Japan, where he met with a monk, and the monk told him about his fate. He told him that he would have two crowns, one crown on earth and the other crown in heaven, because of how holy he was, and he told him that he would be murdered. As a result of it, he said, "I will prove it to you. Today you will be in the central square, and some samurai, Japanese knight, will try to attack you and kill you, but you will survive." And this really happened, and in honor of this he made a dragon tattoo. Then another person who was a monk and who was considered holy in Russia told him exactly the same thing. His name was Seraphim. And then, before even he was born, 100 years before he was born, his predecessor, King Pavel, and before that his mother Catherine, they were told about this, that this will happen. And by another monk. So this was the third person. And then this Seraphim told him that. And then also a woman who was a nun also told him, she made the same prediction, that he would be murdered with his family. He didn't have a son then. He really wanted to have a son because he was only having daughters. And she told to his wife, take this piece of fiber in order to sew some pants for the son that you are going to have. And he said, you will be murdered together with two of your servants, your loyal servants. So he was murdered with his doctor and his cook, I suppose. And she said, for each of your family, devil will torture Russian for 10 years. So they were his family, him and his daughters, his son, his wife, and then his two servants. So I think there were 15 of them. Sorry, I got confused. So anyways, she said for each person Russia will have to pay for 10 years. And then God will come back and ask if Russian people have repented about your death. And this will happen every 10 years. God will check on you. And if they don't repent, then they will puke their blood and choke on their own blood. So this was important for the holiness and the martyrdom, because in Russia, this Tsar was considered to be divine covenant, divine sacrament, because before there was a Tsar, and the Tsar was anointed just like in Israel by the high priest in order to become the father of the whole nation. And this had been asked by Russian people. This was requested collectively by a whole Russian ethnic group, ethnos, whole Russian country back in the day was requesting God to give them the Tsar in order to unite all the land, because before that different princes and aristocracy were fighting between each other, so they had to unite one land under one Tsar, and this was made with the help of a patriarch of the church and the Orthodox Christian faith, and they considered their duty to be holy, and they were meant to act in the interest of the country and its people. So his wife was also German and English, and he really liked everything English, and he was fond of his cousin George, whom he looked like they were almost twins. But because this George guy was mean, evil-spirited, he of course backstabbed and betrayed him because of this jealousy. Because Russia was a very rich country, and it was rich and self-sufficient without sucking blood from what were called the colonies. Russia never had any colonies and never had any slaves and never had any slave trade, and I guess the Rhine lied the issue, and the Rhine lied the problem. That's why British hated Russian Tsar so much. They wanted to destroy them. They are the leeches on their own society. So this is what happened, and also there were Buddhist monks, and there was a procession, an embassy of Buddhist monks who came from Tibet, and these elderly monks once visited Russia, and they stood in front of the Tsar, and they said, you have demeanor of a dove, you are very meek, and you are holy, and we have this chest, and this is the most valuable treasure to us. This is our what we have left from our God Buddha. So Buddha wore these clothes, and we would like to give you these clothes that Buddha wore, because we consider you to be equally holy. So anyways, this is just what Russians had to face after he was murdered. Years and years of suffering, and this debauchery and demonic stuff going on. And it's been almost 105 years, so 5 more years left to repent. And if we don't repent, then another 10 years of suffering. So this was kind of a covenant, what we call the sacrament, like we call it anointment of the Tsar, of the emperor, the king. And this is not just an agreement between people and the ruler. There was a third party, which is the creator, the almighty divine ruler involved. So because, for example, when a man and a woman marry at the church, then if he cheats on her, it is considered to be adultery, because this is a very grave sin, not only because he betrays some woman he promised to love and protect, but also it is important that he made that pledge to God in order to it was made in front of people and in front of the holy almighty creator. That's why the same thing that was made where Russian people summoned the name of the almighty creator in order to obtain a Tsar, emperor, to their land, and then they so cruelly destroyed him. This was a sin against the holy, the most high, first and foremost. And of this, Russians must repent. Now about a modern time monk, Schimandrit Stefan. He was born in Serbia, and it was already in the 20th century. So he was born in 1922 and died in 2001. He talks about his experience at war. 2 people made me stand and they got ready to shoot at me point blank. I prayed and I'm feeling that bullets are burning the clothing around my body, but not one bullet has touched me. I rushed to run, and then they shoot at me from the machine guns. I ran and I cried out, "Mother, Holy Mother, save me." Stefan Schimandrit was a monk who was in Karule. He had a cross with decorations. So he went to live in a cave. And he was talking about when he was in this seclusion, he started to see the demons and other wondrous things happened to him. And then he is talking about what will happen in the world. And basically he talks about America and how America will die a terrible death. He said that there will be some cataclysm related to water, which will destroy momentarily entire cities. And then many people will rush to Russia and also to Serbia to save themselves. So surprisingly, United States has the same kind of problem, and this is oath breaking, and this is oath breaking of their Declaration of Independence. So the same way Russians broke their oath, their covenant with the Almighty Creator when they asked for a divinely guided Tsar, anointed one, and they received, but they killed him. The same way Americans, those who were the colonies, in this document there are not just people involved. It is not just between Americans who immigrated and the UK. This is a document that calls on the divine power. It calls on the name of Creator, where he is called he is called the Supreme, let's say, we therefore representative of the United States of America in General Congress, blah blah blah, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for rectitude of our intention due in the name and by authority of the good people of the colonies. Let me publish and declare that the United Colonies are and of the right to be free and independent state, that they are absolved from all the allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain ought to be totally dissolved, and that free and independent states have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliance, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things with independent states may have right to do, and for the support of declaration with the firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our honor. So not only they called on the name of Creator, the Most High, and the divine power in this document. So this was between them, between the Americans and the Almighty. So, and on top of it, they pledged their lives, fortunes, and honor. So, of course, if you didn't break all these ties, all the political ties with this British thing, as you claim, you broke the oath to the divine creator, and of course, you're going to pay with your lives, your honor, and what else did you? Your fortunes, yeah. That's why this whole thing is happening to you, because, well, you joined with this Britain again. Anyways, and of course, the same thing that the British did with Russian czars, they did with American presidents. Like, for example, they poisoned Ivan Grozny with mercury, and his heirs, his little infant children. The same they did with Abraham Lincoln. When he didn't die from mercury, which was so kindly advised to him as a medicine, they decided to shoot him up in the theater. And that's what they do and continue to do. So, this country just brought nothing but horrible leeching, suffering to the world, stolen, and at the same time it likes to pretend to be charitable and smart and advanced and whatnot. But you know who they are and about their Adam's apple in the neck, you know, and how they are really relatives and their families are fake and they are inbred. What else can they do but kill? And especially they love to kill their own. Like with my man, they specifically like to murder everybody attractive. Like my man had very beautiful blue eyes, and they decided to pick poison for him that will destroy his eyes. So he was having vision problems and he was going blind. That's how they are. That's just them. They hate somebody who is more attractive than them. They hate somebody because they are attractive and kind and not like them at all. So they call them weak, they say that they are weak and so on and so forth, and they ruin somebody else's reputation. They love doing that. They love doing that. if somebody is beautiful, they just want to destroy them, They hate it. They hate love, they hate holiness. They like everything nasty, perverted. Just look at their Daily Mail paper. Each day it's something disgusting written there about all these depravities and promiscuity and perversions, and that's how their lives are. They don't notice this about themselves anymore because they cannot even be critical of themselves. They think it's normal to be all these, to report on all this pedophilia, drug debauchery, scandals, and so on and so forth, because they have no clue that it's not normal for most of people, and they have gone so far in their degradation that it's hard in their, it's hard to even explain to a breed that they cannot compare their disgusting, ugly Boris Johnson with Russian current president even, because it's just a disgrace. It's horrible, disgusting to look at. And I don't care much about appearance, I'm just saying how it is.